Hello, guys. How's everybody doing on their end? I'm Vernon Kidder, coming to you live overview, guys. A pretty overview that I planned a while. I was like, should I do this live, or should I do it? Should I pre-record it and then get your comments, or should I do it now and hear your comments and your thoughts and everything like that? So, with that being said, as always, guys, the M.V.K Lord of New York is here to give my overview. I got clean shade for you guys. I shaved that sideburns for you, so appreciate it. To pretty much give my overview of The Defenders, the final Netflix Marvel series, I guess you could say, for phase 1. So we're gonna talk. I'm gonna give my thoughts on plot, the characters, favorite scenes, things I did not like. Yeah, there were a few things I didn't like, and even what the future holds in terms of that, as well as basically shout out to you guys, whoever's here. I'll read some of your own comments, your thoughts on things like that as well. But want to make something really possible and something real quick. This is not a Q&A. This is not a Q&A. I'm going to interact with you guys, but it's not a Q&A. Maybe if it in terms is dedicated to the Defenders, maybe I'll answer it. But this is not a Q&A. This is not a random Q&A. That will be next week. Okay, that will be next week. But anyway, let's talk about this. Just want to make sure we throw the rundown of the Defenders once again. I want to make sure I want to make sure that everybody falls, just being a little appropriate. Just want to throw a little bit of the stuff down real quick. So here we go. Okay. Let's give a little synopsis of what the Defenders was. I'm sure you guys know what it was, but if not, okay, let's do it. Okay, so Marvel's Defenders, or simply The Defenders, is an American web TV miniseries created by Douglas Pereira and Marco Ramos for Netflix, based on Marvel comic characters Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, who form an superhero team. It is set in the MCU shared continuity with the film's franchises, and is interconnected shows from the Marvel and Netflix. The series is produced by Marvel TV. It is associated with ABC Studios, 9.5 Fingers and Garwood Tex, and with Monroe serving as showrunner. Uh, okay. And the show started Charlie Cox, Christian Ritter, Mike Coulter, Finn Jones, Erica Devar, Jessica Hedwicks. I want to make sure I get everybody. Simone Messick, Ramos Rodriguez, Rachel Taylor, Daffy Ann Wall, Ilada Young, Rosario Dawson, Scott Glenn, and the one and only the queen of sci-fi herself, Miss Sigourney Weaver. Okay, my mouth is dry from that. Okay, now with that being said, first of all, got to make sure. Let's see who is here. Probably nobody yet. Okay, we do have somebody here. Oh, we have Justin Walker. We have Matt's Smooth. Hey guys. So, and we have Justin Walker. Okay. So first of all, first thing I think I want to talk about with Defenders in general is, as I always do with all the Netflix series, I have to say big ups to all the people, the composers and everyone who comes up with these openings. These opening credits are just, when they did Daredevil, it was very tragic, but I loved it at the same time. I was like, then Jessica Jones, I love Jessica Jones opening. Then Luke Cage came in, and that uptown smooth vibe, I have that as my ringtone, dudes. Okay. And then say what you want about Iron Fist, but Iron Fist's opening was perfect. Then here comes Defenders, and wow, they just did a masterful job. I know you can download it on iTunes. They do put up the opening themes on iTunes and Amazon Music and stuff like that. Beautiful, well done, thumbs up for that. Okay, so with the series, what was really interesting about this series for me was where it kind of took place. Where was it taking place? And we got to see that. It would seem Matt has retired from being Daredevil for some time. Jessica still kind of has a lot of those walls, still not really letting anybody in besides Trish and Malcolm, kind of. Still not really doing her detective agency thing too dearly. Luke has just gotten out of Seagate, and he starts, and he comes back to Harlem, and him and yeah, get busy. It's a good scene though. And Danny and Colleen are still, they're still on the search and hunt for the hand and everything like that. Now, first things first, the scene where we see Danny and Colleen first, they interact with a fallen Chastity member. For all those who don't know who that was one of the members known as Shaft. We're not talking about Richard Roundtree Shaft, no, or we're not talking about the Youngbloods member Shaft. There was a member of the group that Stick started with Stone and all them. He was called Shaft. He was an archer. He looked like Storm Shadow, just not villain. He was a good guy. If you don't believe me, you could research it yourself. So that guy that died was Shaft, and we saw somebody's taken out the rest of the members of the good ninjas that battle the Hand. That was interesting. And then we're also introduced to Sigourney Weaver's character for the first time, and she seems to be going to get medical service or so. Like doctors are telling her, you only have this. So it's almost like she's dying or so. That's kind of the threat I got from it. And that was interesting. But it was interesting to see, Matt really kind of still doing his thing as a lawyer. He's doing a lot of pro bono cases, that something that he likes to do. I thought that was okay. That's perfect for Matt. You know, he's consulting one of his clients who is seriously injured, you know, who got really injured from an accident, and he's kind of now, his parents are kind of more like on the cusp, like, yeah, we won this case, but they're not really caring about this guy, the boy. And Matt really kind of breaks it down from, you know, you would think Matt was going to like kind of hold the reins back. No, he broke it down. That was one thing I also loved about it. Matt broke it down. He didn't sugarcoat what was going to, he's like, yeah, this is going to make you tougher, but yeah, it's going to be hard. But it's going to strengthen you in the end, and things like that. I thought that was really well done. Besides, after Claire and Luke getting it on, you know, Misty comes to the door, which was interesting, and you know, giving Luke a little 411 on what's been going on in Harlem ever since he went back to Seagate, and he's been talking. He's asking him, okay, what's going on with Mariah and Shades? They kind of been kind of on the back burner. Nothing's been going down. But Misty kind of gives them what's going on. The people of Harlem are seeing, hey, Luke's back, you know, and everybody's kind of like, hey, he's back, you know. And I thought that was really good, really, really good, indeed. And Jessica is just being Jessica. But the story seems to revolve around. It did revolve around Iron Fist. It really did. Sorry about that. I was seeing a little flash on my TV on. Sorry about that. But yeah, it did revolve around Iron Fist. In terms of, we find out a lot more about the Hand, and I thought it was interesting how they connected the Hand with Kunlun and everything like that. I was like, that's not really how it goes, but okay. You know, some way to make it feel okay, legit, and understanding that they're members of Kunlun, have left Kunlun, formed the Hand, things like that. I was like, okay, that's not how the Hand was formed, but okay, very interesting indeed. So that really kind of got me going real. The first episode was really just the intake of what's been going on, catch up, what's going on with these characters. And that was really cool. By the second episode, guys, we got our first interaction really with the characters, which was really fun. Let me make sure I see who else is here. So I don't, somebody else is probably here. Okay, who else is here? No, just Justin and just Travis. I know Travis is here. So yeah, that was something I did like about. But we get the very interesting take of we finally get one of the greatest bromance in comics finally come together. They finally interact with each other after Luke and Danny meet each other. And I kid you not, this literally came right out of the comics, guys. It really did. Danny is clearly, in a sense, somewhat outmatched. He's using every form of style he can think of, but this guy is not falling down. And you got Luke just saying, stay down. And then he gets back up. He tries to clip him. He iron palm, bam. He's wop, 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 wop. And nothing's going down. And Luke just hits him again. And that was where we saw the first connection, that, you know, Iron Fist, whop, that connect. And Luke goes flying into a wall. And I'm just like, that came right out of comics. That was pretty much right out of comics. Difference is Luke, if I remember correctly, in the Iron Fist, Power Man Iron Fist, Luke went into a building. But that was the first time we actually got to see them, and it was really interesting. But it is all, once again, it was all circled around. What I did like is that it all kind of revolved around things that would interconnect them all together. You know, about this building. Jessica takes on this client who's connected to said building and things like that. I thought was really interesting. And more importantly, when Jessica gets involved and she gets somewhat arrested and Matt comes to her aid, I thought was really interesting. Now, that was also pretty interesting. So when Claire introduces Danny, Clute to Danny, it's almost like it's almost like a testosterone level, like a. It wasn't technically a dick measuring contest, but it did kind of feel that way. But there's a scene that I love, and I was glad to hear that a lot of people love that scene. Is the scene between Luke and Danny. First, you know, Danny is telling them, you know, who he is and how he can do what he does and things like that. And you know, I love that, you know, going about the dragon and then nobody believes in it. They're like, okay, all right, I'm not buying that one. You know, it's pretty funny. But you know, Luke goes on to talk about how Danny, you know, hey, dude, you're privileged. You got the money, you got everything, but you still act this way. And you know, and Danny's all, I don't care about the money, but in some ways, Luke had a good point, and that came right out of the comics. Once again, I applaud them for using a lot of subtext that came out of the original Power Man Iron Fist run when they first connected with each other. It was kind of that way. It was a slow burn before they became really a bromance. But you saw that over the time of the series, guys, that Luke and the chemistry between them was building, and it was building and building and building to a point where it's almost to the point, for me personally, it's like, please, let's get a Luke Cage Iron Fist series. You know, it was like, to me, it was like, let them both get a season 2, but a season 3, it's them together. That's how I was looking at it. Because the more they interacted, I liked Mike Coulter and Finn Jones' chemistry with each other. Then you had Christian Ritter and Charlie Cox's chemistry. The chemistry between all 4 of them, whether they were together, it was great. And then when 2-on-2, Luke and Danny, Jessica and Matt, it was great. I was loving it. I was like, they got it. They really connect really well. Sorry. So it was a lot of takes on that, which I really enjoyed, especially between them, you know, and Claire and Colleen. They're getting along really well and things like that. The plot, like I said, the plot of the series was interesting because it did revolve around Colleen, and it did revolve around I guess you could say, members of Colleen who formed the Hand. You know, Sigourney Weaver. I want to make sure I get Madame Gao, the actress who played her, because she was great. I loved her. I love her. I love her who plays Madame Gao. I want to make sure I get her name right. What the hell is her name? I want to make sure I get her name right because she was great. Damn. What was her name? I'm trying to remember. Wai Shin Ho. Wai Shin Ho, who played Gao. Wai Shin Ho, Miss Ho was great. I loved her in Iron Fist. I loved her in Daredevil, and she was great here. I loved her. It was really good to see. When they showed the forecoming of the Hand, remember, the Hand dug up Elektra's body and brought her back to life. That was really interesting. And I remember hearing a lot of people, especially asking me, like, yo, Chris, is Elektra got superhuman strength? I'm like, no, she's not superhumanly strong. Why? She's like, because why is she tossing around people? And I'm like, okay, that's probably explained because they're with the hand, the substance that brought her back. And that's how I looked at it. I was like, okay, she's probably enhanced because of the substance that she was lying and she came up out of and things like that. Because she's the dark sky, the black sky, and things like that. But I loved the chemistry between the characters, especially between the four. You They weren't all hoorah and everything, but when they finally came together, it was great. I know a lot of people seem to have a problem with Danny, and I'm gonna get into that. Get into that real quick or real soon about that. But the plot was pretty simple, straightforward. Nothing really too fancy. Nothing overshadowing a lot of things. It just was straightforward. You knew where it was going. Bam. So yeah, from there it was pretty good, indeed. Characters wise, like I said, character wise, Charlie Cox is great as Daredevil, and it's to the point when I see Charlie Cox and Mike Coulter and Christian Ritter and yes, even Finn Jones, I was like, man, I wish they could connect with Robert Downey Jr. and all those other and all the other characters that are in the movie franchises. Hopefully someday that will happen. I don't want them changing somebody to a different character, somebody else playing the role. But yeah, I loved it. Jessica, Christian Miss Ritter plays that role too well. If you ever see her outside of that role, he was like, man, she just seems so sweet and just so nice. But when she gets into Jessica mode, it's like a whole different person takes over. And her interaction with Matt was just hilarious at times. Like there was a scene where there's a scene where Matt's following her, and she's watching him, and then she double backs on him, and she sees him pop 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 pop, and go bam bam bam, and she takes pictures, and I know a couple of my friends had a problem with that. They're like, how she able to get pictures of Matt and things like that. But it still was very, very interesting. What I also liked about it was like it wasn't just straightforward. They're going right. Everybody's just going in, blaze of glory, fighting. Even Danny used his head from what he used his company a little bit. Okay, who bought up some property, things like that, and then that's where Danny meets Alexandra, played by Sigourney Weaver, and she comes off very menacing at times, and then you're just like, okay, shit, like what's going on? Because I always thought, and I'm gonna get into this a little later too. It's like I always thought when I heard Sigourney Weaver, I was like, big fan of hers, and she comes on and she talks about, I've killed Iron Fist before, and right there, that was my first. Okay, she's killed Iron Fist. How old is she? That's what I was like. How old is she? How many did she kill? And then you get the famous hallway scene. Let's talk about the hallway scene. Well crafted, well lit, well choreographed. Everybody using to their strengths, which was really good. Little did they know that Elektra was coming behind them, and of course that leads to Matt and Elektra fighting, and then he's sensing, wait, I know you, and I can't tell you how many times I cracked up laughing every time Elektra got knocked through a wall by Danny or something like that. I was like, it was so funny. But yeah, she came through. Elodie Young is great as Elektra. She makes you say, Jennifer who? Oh, there was someone else who played Elektra. Who? Like someone says, yeah, it was a Jennifer Garner. You're like, who? That I'm dead serious about that, because she plays it really good. And I love that the fact is that she started remembering who she was before she was just called the Black Sky and everything like that. What I also enjoyed was that not everything is hunky dory inside the hand. There is some dissension, and people, and a lot of the members feeling that Alexandra's, our fearless leader, is full of hot air. She's all hype, she she's not caring about the hand. She's more concerned about this and that. Gal, on the other hand, was just too loyal to me. She was really just too loyal. Um, but the scene in the Chinese restaurant, and they finally meet Stick, and everything goes down, and that scene kind of reminded me of New Avengers, where everybody forgot who Spider-Man was, and they were like, there's got to be trust. This was during, there's still the Registration Act, and they were like, yo, we got to know who you are. And he finally revealed himself, who he was. That kind of reminded me of when Matt revealed himself after he had Jessica's scarf around his head. And I can understand why Matt did it. He's like, I'm not going to reveal myself because, I got people I care about that's getting involved. Matt, being the one who has more experience with the hand, he's trying to tell them, like, look, these people are dangerous. They're like, they're a higher form of the Yakuza. Basically, that's the way I look at the hand in the MCU. They're more of a higher form of the Yakuza. Like, they will come after you, they'll come after your family, things like that. But that scene was really good. And Stick coming in, who Mr. Man, I'm forgetting his name right now, did a great job as Stick, but still came off as a dick. But he did a good job, indeed. But each member, you kind of felt like, even though what's connecting them all together, you still feel that they all realize that I can't do this. I shouldn't do this. Jessica feels more like she still has those walls up. You know what I'm saying? Like, those walls, she's still protruding those walls. Like, she don't let a lot of people in. Luke is not really trying to get too much involved, but he knows it has something to do with something that Misty asked him to look into. And of course, Matt has his reasons, but more importantly, because he's kind of retired. And of course, Iron Fist has his reasons. So that was very interesting indeed. Now, let me see. I'll see anybody's question or text about it. Justin, you asked me who has the best opening credits on the Netflix series Jessica Jones. That's kind of a hard one. It's the one I listen to the most. Will probably be, and that will probably be a tie between Jessica and Luke Cage. I listen to those openings more than anybody, than Daredevil's or even Iron Fist. Even though I love those too, but Daredevil's I can't listen to because it depresses me a little bit. So I'm like, I can't listen to this too much. So I'll just let you know that one. Yeah. No, I wasn't that surprised how powerful Jessica was. I mean, Elektra was. Like I said, I knew they were going to play up the fact that she was resurrected, and they talked about the substance a lot. They talked about that a lot, and I was like, okay, that substance has some sort of value and probably enhances people even further. So I wasn't really shocked at all. Who asked that? Justin. I really wasn't. Yeah, Luke get his coffee. Yeah, he got his Spanish coffee this time, so and I don't blame him. Oh, Rosario. Man, that woman's so hot. I swear. I got a super duper crush. She's one of my celebrity crushes. Oh my God. So character wise, everybody pretty much played their part. Let's talk a little bit about Sigourney Weaver, because this was probably one of the most disappointing things for me in general, was the fact that Sigourney Weaver's character Alexandra was just, she was almost just really there. When I think about it, when I go back, I'm like, was Sigourney Weaver really needed for that role? You know, you bring in this just legend, Sigourney Weaver, who has been dubbed the queen of sci-fi for good reason. You bring her in, and when they said she was announced to be the major villain, you think about it and you're like, and then especially for me, guys, my mind starts going 0 to 100 real quick, and I'm like, who the hell is she playing? I'm thinking, okay, I was thinking she was going to be Lady Suprema from anybody who doesn't know who that is, look her up. I thought I even thought she was going to be the Velvet Cloak, Justin Hammer's sister. There was so many people I was thinking she was going to play, but she turned out to be, I guess you could say, an elder of Kowloon or so, or somebody, and just with a mysterious past. And after a while, I started to smell it real quick that she was going to die by her child, if you want to call it that. I knew Elektra was going to kill her. I was like, yeah, she's going to die soon. I started smelling it. I'm like, yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Oh, there you go. I was like, yep, there it is. So I was very disappointed in that. I was like, that's one letdown. That was one letdown, guys, I had with that, because what a swerve. But it wasn't a good swerve. It was a swerve, but it was like, man, really? Like, then what was the point? It was like, yeah, that's how I looked at it. That's how I looked at it. And that kind of bothered me. And then Elektra takes over, and she remembers everything. It kind of reminded me of I forget, but it's like, yeah, I remember everything. I know who I am, and I'm leading the hand now, and everybody just follows her, you know. Indeed. Uh, so that was definitely a side of me what I didn't like. Um, what I also liked about it was a lot of teases at a lot of, hopefully it happens. We got some connection with the Daughters of the Dragon, Colleen and Misty, and seeing them together, Simone Messick and Miss Hedwig together, I'm like, this can work. I was like, this can work. I'm like, Marvel, make it happen. Like, start working on your phase 2s or phase 3s for the Netflix series, and you know, hopefully, you know, just like, let's get Daughters of the Dragon out there, man. Like, hell, I'll even give you the villain you can have for them. But it was just, I loved it. I was like, ooh, it's happening. It's slow burn, but it's happening. Um, so yeah, but it was still good to see. But I gave you one kind of nitpick I had, or just what I didn't like about the show, and that was one. Though with Sigourney Weaver's character, that really bothered me. Now I know a lot of people said what made the show kind of bad was Iron Fist. All right, now, all right, let me talk about this, because I am getting so sick and tired of everybody just ransacking or just bashing Finn Jones as Danny. Oh, he looks like Justin Timberlake. Blah 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 blah. He's not. Look, I said it before. He wasn't my choice for Danny Rand. He wasn't. But he's trying, y'all, and you can't blame him for the writing. That's not. He's the actor. He's just reading the script. I will say that this is just a process of him becoming who he's supposed to be. You know, throughout this series, you know, he was really kind of like, you know, I'll do this myself and blah, 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 and things like that. You read the early days of Iron Fist. That's how Danny was. He was very, very angry, very, very brash, arrogant. You know, he relied too much on just the name of, I'm the Iron Fist, things like that. But I guarantee you, they're going to mellow him out to the way he's supposed to be. So that was, but his his character in terms of people trying to tell him, like, look, Danny, like, think first before just jumping right into the fire. Think about it. You jump in the fire, what happens? You get burned. So think about it for a second before you just jump in head first. And he kind of, and then we actually saw that, the fact that he started to fight, which we knew was going to happen. He fought Daredevil, and it was a pretty decent, but you could see that, Matt was still kind of bad at him in a sense, and if it wasn't for Jessica stepping in, probably Matt would have knocked him off for his own good. But you saw that, and he was just really, and I will agree with that, guys. Yeah, he was a little too angry. He was a little angry, and but I think this is just a trial of what he was going to become, because by the time the series started waning down to the final 3 episodes, you started to see something is happening, and that's how I looked at it. Very much, indeed, something was going to happen. Let's look at what's going on in the chat. I want to read some people's comments. Hey, Lee, that punch to the jaw, laughing out loud. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was funny to me. It was just. It reminded me of season 1 of Luke Cage, when the dude tried to punch him and he broke his hand. But this time, this guy punched it and Luke flowed through the window into the. I think it was like a parking gate. It was pretty interesting. But yeah, the boardroom fight did lit up Danny. It was interesting, but there was some things, and I think I'll do my speculations after, because I want to talk about sometime why Danny couldn't channel his chi at some points. I'm gonna get to that later. I have some speculations on that one, my boys, so check that one out. I would love to see that Luke and Danny making cameos in each other's season 2s, because Iron Fist does have a season 2. I would love to see that. Like maybe 3 episodes. He's in an episode with Danny, or Luke's in an episode. But I doubt it. Especially for what we saw a little bit of. Let me see. I also start a series with Elektra showing around. An Elektra series. Okay, hold on. I'll get to that. The fact that there was a doorway underneath Manhattan that could somewhat lead to, that can only be opened by Iron Fist and Iron Fist, that was interesting. And we seeing dragons and all that other stuff, like that was, I'm like, okay, they're going a little bit mystical and things like that. And Danny just once again clocked Elektra again. It was so funny. I was just like, yo, how many times she gotta fall down? I heard a lot of people were cracking up the fact that they were tossing around Madame Gao. She's a little older, so it was like, she's actually getting tossed around. I mean, Luke and Jessica were cracking. I'm like, oh my god, like, hey, that side of me, don't hit your elders, respect your elders, is still a part of me. So I'm saying that, I'm like, oh god, Matt. When Matt put back on the suit, he did his thing. I don't care what anybody says. He really, spotlight was back on him big time. Just everything about him, in terms of him interrogating one of the hand members, to him saving Jessica and Trish, who's actually Hellcat. to, her Jessica cracking on, his costume, which was fine. The fact that Jessica, the one that y'all talking about, I see in your comments, you guys are talking about Jessica and Matt. I love that scene where Jessica is explaining to Matt in subtext that she knew he was Daredevil all the time, talking about his dad and everything like that when she was talking to her client, which was really interesting as well. But when they got to the final scene where they were